Well, Bo, the Hawkeyes looked pretty good against Iowa State this past weekend, but especially their defense.
That's right, one of the top defenses in the country right now. I'll have more on that later in the sports segment, but for now, let's toss it over to Taylor to find out more.
Thanks, guys. Let's talk more about that defense. Earlier this week, Iowa football's A.J. Epinesa was named as one of the Big Ten Defensive Players of the Week after his career-high 5 tackles and 2 sacks. DITV Sports Director Bo Bowman is in our Big Board studio with more on the sophomore stud. Bo?
Iowa football's defensive line has already proven to be one of the scariest units on the field this year. They held Iowa State star running back David Montgomery to only 44 rushing yards, and the star of the show, A.J. Epinesa. The sophomore stands at 6'7" and 277 pounds and is wreaking havoc on opposing quarterbacks. Already recording 3 sacks on the year, he's also demonstrated his perfection of the rare art of the strip sack. Let's take a look at a couple of his highlights. Here he is at the bottom of the screen, and he just dominates the tackle here, showing off his strength and actually reaches through him to get to the quarterback to knock the ball loose and cause that turnover. But now, more than strength, the big man's got wheels too. Here he is now against NIU, again at the bottom of the screen. Coming off the edge, he burns that tackle on this one, and the poor quarterback stands no chance. Strip sack again for Epinesa, so it's obvious Epinesa and this defense could be something special, allowing only 5 points per game so far and leading the country in almost all defensive categories. And keep in mind, this isn't coming out of nowhere either. Epinesa has had 4.5 sacks last year, and he was one of the most recruited defensive linemen in the country coming out of high school. So he's definitely improving and has the potential to be one of Kirk Ferentz' best products yet.
DITV Sports Director Bo Bowman in the Big Board studio. Thank you. And we have the Daily Iowan pregame editor Adam Hensley live in the newsroom. Now, Adam, apart from Epinesa, where else is this Hawkeye defense strong?
Yeah, so along with Epinesa, Iowa's whole defensive line has really lived up to that preseason hype. They've been Iowa's strongest group defensively this season. But last week against Iowa State, one of the things that stood out to me was Iowa's cornerbacks and their support in the run game. Michael Ojemudia and Matt Hankins really look strong supporting the run, containing that edge, and pushing things inside. And that all just goes to help out Iowa's linebackers, who are relatively inexperienced this season.
That's right, and the linebackers were a big question mark heading into this season. How have they performed?
Yeah, so as much inexperience as that group has, they've also been pretty much a pleasant surprise. Jaimon Colbert, he stepped up for Christian Welch last week when he was injured, and he's also listed as a starter this week against Northern Iowa. Meanwhile, Jack Hockaday has pretty much cemented himself as that guy in the middle linebacker position. But I think out of the whole group, the guy you want to keep your eye on is Nick Niemann. He's got that unique blend of size, skill. It's everything you want out of a linebacker coming off the edge, and he's a guy that keeps offensive coordinators up at night trying to figure out how to scheme against him.
Now, finally, how do you expect this defense to play against UNI this weekend?
I expect another strong defensive performance from Iowa. Maybe not as strong as we saw against Iowa State, but I think a pretty strong performance nevertheless. I think the main question, though, is going to be whether or not Iowa's offense can match the defense's production on Saturday.
Yeah, exactly. All right, that's Adam Hensley live in the newsroom. Thank you. We'll have more on Iowa's destructive defense tomorrow on DITV's pregame show with Bo Bowman and Lucy Rodine.